Welcome back to another episode of It's in the Details. As always, please remember to hit the like button, the subscribe button, get in them comments. If you like the show, tell a friend to tell a friend. The F1 circus was in the Middle East again. And if you've been listening to me, I always say when the F1 circus goes to the Middle East, some craziness is going to happen. And it did again. I've been watching March Madness, but the ladies, I'm more interested in the ladies tournament. But first, anybody see anything about the Oscars? Anything? Did you watch? Did you maybe see some clips? Did anything happen? Okay, I'll stop playing. I haven't been watching the Oscars for a little bit. I've been watching these Best Picture movies, trying to get prepared. And because of a nice little movie named Licorice Pizza, I liked it so much, I said, let me make sure I see the Oscars this year to see if Licorice Pizza gets that Best Picture win. They didn't. They did not get that Best Picture win. But turns out we all got our own little reward, you know? we all got a reward for those of us who watched. I mean, everybody else found out in a different way. But, wow. I mean, some things happened. Let me ask y'all a question. Do you know what it's like to watch two people who were very formative in your cultural and entertainment experiences as a teenager get in a fight on national TV? Can you imagine what that feels like? It feels crazy. I'll answer it for you. It feels real wild. It's nuts. Chris Rock told a joke, and the joke was not well received. It was not well received. To be fair, people have been going at stand-up comedians for a while now, and it seems the retort from comedians and people who want to stand up for comedians is you don't have to go to the show if you are easily offended. You don't have to select that special on Netflix or wherever the hell you watch specials. Like, all those things were the things people say. And that is not the situation at the Oscars. These people have worked their lives to go to this award show, and they didn't really sign up to get roasted, right? That's my only thing about the jokes. Like, comedians have been hosting the Oscars forever, and they roast the actors and actresses, and that's what has been happening. But it's not really that surprising that someone got upset with one of these jokes, right? To the meat of it. Will Smith did not like that joke after some seconds, because if you watch the clips, Will was laughing hard at the joke, even though the rest of the people in the stands in the audience were not laughing. Like, there were some oohs and groans, and Chris was like, "Oh, guys, it was a nice one. That was a nice one," and nobody was feeling it. And I think that's when Will found out I should not be feeling this either. And he walked up on stage and cracked Chris across the face, man. Which leads a skeptical person like me to go, hey, maybe this ain't real. Maybe it's not real. If it is real, it turns out at 50 plus years old, Will Smith said, all that PR stuff I've been doing my whole career, scrap that. How do I get the number to Kanye's publicist? How do I take things in my own hands on a national stage? You know, like, and when I say my own hands, I mean these meaty West Philly hands, you know? These hands that were forged in West Philadelphia, you know? And he put them hands on him. And I don't think it's necessarily right, you know? But Will's been going through it these past few years. He's really been going through it. Him and his wife taught the whole world a new word called an entanglement. And people have been clowning on Will ever since. I mean, people were clowning on Will back in the day with Getting Jiggy with It. People should not be clowning on Summertime because that's one of the best summer party tracks there is. But people have been clowning on Will and his niceness, his nicitude, all these years. And it seems he's fed up. He's tired of it. Part of the reason I didn't think it was real, and I'm still not sure whether it's real or fake, okay? These are professional performers. You know what I'm saying? Professional performers. Chris Rock, he took that slap. Some people are, maybe he didn't fake it, whatever, right? Sure, fine. But if you haven't seen Chris Rock in Fargo, he's a tremendous dramatic actor. He's really strong. So these are two professional performers. Anything's possible. Anything's possible. And that's part of the fascination of this whole thing is on the internet, it's like politics. Everybody is sure that their side is the right side. This is impossible to be fake. This is impossible to be real. They're sure. I'm not sure. You know why I'm not sure? I don't know these people. I don't know anything about these people. You don't know anything about these people either. So just chill on being so sure you know what you saw happen on Sunday night. You're not sure. There's no amount of certainty you can have in this. I heard Chris Rock's going on tour soon. Will Smith about to win an Oscar for a movie people didn't really love that much. I haven't seen it yet. Every time I go to press play, I go, I love Serena. I love Venus. I love Will. I don't want to watch this movie. I don't know why. I don't want to watch this movie. But he won. The other reason I don't necessarily believe this is real is Will has been in about 73 action movies, all sorts of training. He was Muhammad Ali in a movie. And he took the stage and slapped Chris with an open hand. The form looked funny. It all looked suspicious to me. It looked very suspicious. Again, it could be real. I'm not saying it's not real, but it looks suspicious. I figured if he was that angry, he might go up there with a 1-2. He might have hit him with some closed fists, maybe even in the guts, you know, but no, he went with the open hand slap. And I was talking to a friend, someone who you've seen on the show once or twice, my boy Roger. We were talking about it, and I said that to him, and he said, I thought the slap was appropriate. He's not saying that Will should have slapped him, right? He's not saying the violence was necessary, but he is saying that under the circumstances, throughout history, a slap feels appropriate for the besmirching of his wife's name. And I gotta say, that makes a lot of sense to me. It makes a lot of sense to me. I've heard someone else say it should have been a backhand slap, that would have been even more appropriate. I gotta say, I agree with that too. So in hindsight, my initial reaction that he probably should have thrown some blows, maybe a punch to the stomach, if you're gonna go on stage and wild out like Will Smith did, you had other options, more believable looking options. And he didn't even look that upset when he walked off the stage. He was kind of smiling, which I guess if you are upset and you smack someone across the face, you're probably not too angry about it anymore, you know? Probably not. Will Smith was the number one choice to play Django for Quentin Tarantino, and he turned it down. And I don't know if it's happened already, but I bet someone is calling Quentin to say, you're going to have to come out of retirement you're going to have to write up a movie where, as you do, some people in the 1930s are out here calling Will Smith and I can't imagine Will would be any happier than getting to bust up some white people calling him in a movie. He's probably really excited about that opportunity right now. You know, he probably is. Or Antoine Fuqua, Denzel, Ethan Hawke. Get Will his training day. Let's get Will his training day. It's time. It is time for Will Smith to get a training day. It's time. I will be first in line at the theater to watch Will Smith's training day, especially right now. Especially right now. I've heard people talking about, oh, this is going to haunt Will for the rest of his career. Why? Why would this haunt Will for the rest of his career? Why? There are all sorts of people running around Hollywood with all sorts of nasty skeletons. And what's going to haunt Will for the rest of his career is an ill-advised decision to take the stage and slap Chris Rock. There's no way. There's no way. All sorts of sexual deviants still have all their Oscars. You know what I mean? Keep getting to make movies with people. Keep getting to make women and I'm sure men uncomfortable. And Will's going to get dragged over this? He needs to make an apology. If this is real, he needs to make an apology to Chris. I'm sure they've already handled it probably. And we got to move on. We got to move on. But let's get Will his training day, please. But y'all, I'll say this. Chris Rock put his face back together. He handed out that award to Questlove for that documentary he did. And then Diddy came on the stage. I mean, in what world, and some of you probably didn't even know that because you didn't watch the show, but in what world would you expect to see Chris Rock tell a joke, Will Smith take the stage, slap him in the face, go sit down, cuss him out from his seat, right? Questlove receives an Oscar, they leave the stage, and Diddy comes on stage next. And Diddy came out here like Biggie was still alive, hype manning it up, right? He was giving out props to the hosts. He's pumping everybody up. It's the 50th anniversary of The Godfather. Pacino, Francis Ford Coppola, and Robert De Niro come out on stage. They do their little tribute thing. And then Diddy goes back behind the stage with them. And Diddy's back there. People are not receiving Robert De Niro, Al Pacino, and Francis Ford Coppola the way Diddy loves them. And he is clapping in their faces like the 13th man on the bench for Duke men's basketball team. Diddy's back there like, come on, y'all. Robert De Niro, Al Pacino, Francis Ford Coppola. Come on, people. Let's go. You didn't just make a stop with 10 seconds on the clock. Did he just calm down, man? It was ridiculous. But it changed the tone, and Diddy did what he do. And that's trying to start a party and make everybody happy. This may not be the last time you hear me say this. Get Will his training day. It's time. Speaking of college basketball, I've been, for the second year in a row, deep into the women's March Madness portion of the festivities. I just can't seem to care about college men's basketball. I don't. The stars that are in women's basketball are far more entertaining to me. Paige Beckers, Zaya Cooks, Aaliyah Boston's, Haley Van Lith's, Caitlin Clark's. I mean, there's a lot of stars. There's a lot of names that you know. But I just love it. I love watching it. I like the game. It's it's not always the cleanest basketball, but basketball is not always the cleanest basketball. NBA basketball is sometimes so painful to watch, just with the changes in the rules and the way the game works. It's just sometimes it's painful to watch. And just because some ladies are missing some layups from time to time, what, the dudes don't miss layups too? You know what I'm saying? So I've been enjoying it. I've been thinking about it though. I think part of the reason I enjoy it so much is these supreme athletic women that are competing in the games. It calls back to some of my history. So when I was a kid, my parents sent me to summer camp. It was a sports camp. So we'd be doing sports stuff all the time. And one of the counselors was a woman, a lady, a young lady. I have no idea how old she was. I was in my early teens probably. No. 10, 11, probably pretty young. But she probably like 20. And she was a college university athlete in Canada. I don't think it was basketball. I think it was soccer. I think she played soccer in college or university. And I mean, I was a fine athlete. I mean, I was a young kid, right? And her name was Tanya. Tanya was so good at everything, right? So she was amazing at soccer. She was amazing at basketball. We used to play kickball back in those days. And if Tanya, the counselors would play, if Tanya was not on your team, I hope you got 2 pairs of running shoes because you're going to wear out the first one chasing down these kicks from Tanya just to go get the ball. Either you needed 2 pairs of running shoes or you needed 2 or 3 balls because she would kick these balls so far and so high, and she would just jog around the bases. Just light jog around the bases because there was no chance we were ever getting her out, right? I want this to sound the way it should. It's not that Tanya was out here beating up on children, okay? She wasn't bullying us. We wanted her to play with us. And we wanted her to play with us because she was a spectacle, okay? She was a spectacle. It was like being around an athlete you couldn't fathom existed. You could not believe how athletic she was. We also played hot hands. We had a good little relationship. We were tight. We were tight during summer camp. We would even play hot hands, right? Hot hands is the game where you hold your hands out. One person is on the bottom, the other person's on the top, and the person on the bottom is trying to slap your hands, right? Her hands move faster than anything I ever seen. I was a bit of a spoil sport too. I'm sure I cried. I'm positive I cried because I could not get her to stop slapping my hands. The reason I tell y'all this story is there's a bunch of Tanyas playing college basketball right now. And some of them are bullies. Some of them are really athletic. And part of watching college sports, I think in general, but specifically women's basketball, is the delta between the super athletes and the girls that can play college basketball. When you see it, it's like LeBron, 20-year-old LeBron, playing in the G League. Like, if he went down to the G League, he'd score 100 points every night. Okay, so when you got these ladies who are supremely athletic like Tanya was, it's just leaps and bounds in front of all these other girls. And when I say some of them are bullies, I was watching a game. I should have got this girl's name. I apologize. But she put a crossover on this girl. The girl almost fell down. Did not fall down entirely. She raised up, hit this jumper, held the finish, But while she was holding the finish, she started leaning on the defender who was on the ground as they both watched this ball go in. And she just leaned on her back holding the finish. Listen, you already embarrassed the girl with the dribble, and then you made the shot. And now you're going to lean on her to let her know I'm busting that ass. Women's NCAA basketball. It's fantastic. F1 in Saudi Arabia. Every time they go to the Middle East, something wild happens. And I've only been watching for maybe 2 full seasons now. Maybe. But every time they're there, something happens. Every time. Romain Grosjean, car took off, went into a barrier, split in half, caught on fire, barely escaped. Mercedes made a fool of themselves one race. I think it was the same race. George Russell, they called him up because Lewis had COVID, and George Russell looked like he was going to win the race the first time in the Mercedes car. And then Mercedes screwed him up, and then they screwed up Valtteri Bottas, and they both lost. Last season, at the same track they were at this last weekend, Max and Lewis had a little bit of an altercation, and Max brake checked Lewis, and drama, all these things. I've only been watching for 2 seasons, y'all, and all these things happen. Well, this past weekend, they're in Saudi Arabia. I'm watching practice, as I do, and practice is a little delayed. The reason it's delayed is because 20 kilometers from the track, terrorists struck an oil depot, and it was on fire, as you'd imagine an oil depot struck with a missile would be. And guess what? They had some meetings, and they decided, we're going to race anyway. We're going to race anyway. Now, I've recently gotten into some running. And last summer, I started up in my game a little bit. And from time to time, I'd run 12 or 13 kilometers. If I can run to the site of the blast, the track is too close. The track is too close. It's too close for this nonsense. It's one thing to be in the same country where that stuff is happening, right? And they've made their decisions. I'm not here to say yay or nay to them being there, but they've made their decisions, and they're collecting their money, and they think they're making change in these countries. So all sorts of things like this won't happen. The women couldn't drive in Saudi Arabia for quite some time, and they had clips of ladies holding up their licenses driving to the event. So I guess some change is happening. But terrorist strikes 20 kilometers away from the racetrack seems like time to pack it in. So the team bosses got together, and they said, we're good to stay here and keep racing. The drivers had their own meeting, as they do, and apparently all of them said, we are not racing here. 45 minutes to an hour or so, I think, went by, and all of a sudden, they're racing again. That seems funny. I don't know what happened. I haven't been able to find out what happened. I've seen some articles on the internet that may or may not be true. I don't know that they're true, so these are alleged things that were said. Apparently, some sources found out that the drivers were told the airport is going to be locked down. So y'all are going to stay here and race. So you race. Forget what we said in the meeting. I guess we're racing. Because apparently y'all ain't going to let us leave. Allegedly. The world is messy right now. It's real messy. The world is messy. I just... the thing is, man, when is there enough money? I just wonder sometimes, when is enough money, right? Like, you've got the conflict, the war in Ukraine with Russia, and the world has started sanctioning Russia and sanctioning their people, basically, and sanctioning these oligarchs. My question is, y'all were happy taking all that oligarch money and letting them run around all over your countries before Russia started a war in the Ukraine, And y'all can take that money back when this thing stops, because it's going to stop. Eventually, this war is going to stop. And all those boats those yachts, those super yachts you've been confiscating, and some people had to sell their sports teams. What happens when it's over? Because if these people are being viewed as some type of criminal or criminal adjacent, so you got to make their lives uncomfortable, what happens when things, for lack of a better word, go back to normal in that part of the world? I'm just curious. Something to think about. Okay, in terms of the race and the racing, there was some cool stuff that happened, okay? I'm not trying to make it all dreary, all right? Sergio Perez got his first pole position, his first place in qualifying in 215 races. 11 years he got his first one. That was exciting until Nicholas Latifi crashed and screwed his race up. So sorry, Sergio, we were cheering for you. Lewis qualified 16th. George Russell, his teammate, qualified 6th. So something was up. George said that the working window for their car, the optimal area for their car to work the best, is so tiny. And he feels that they found it on his car and they don't know why. They don't know what they did, but they found it by accident. And that's a microcosm for the stress that these people are going to be under the entire season. Max got his first win. Ferrari 2 and 3 after the first race, 1 and 2. It is going to be exciting, y'all. But I'm curious to see where it goes with all of this. The other side of the sport, where they're chasing the dollars into some places that feel dangerous, But people love money. With that, thank you very much for joining me on another episode. As always, hit the like, hit the subscribe, tell a friend to tell a friend if you enjoyed the show. But I'll see y'all in a week. Take care. Peace.